In the making of this film, an enormous amount of research and material has been collected. What has been produced is but a flavour of over 100 years of the beautiful game as played and supported by those in the seaboard villages. In 1918, an interest in football began by Captain Dewar, a wealthy Lanarkshire man who took a great interest in promoting sport in the villages. He acquired a pitch for the team just east of Hilton and provided goal posts and their blue and white strip. In the early 1920s, both Ballintor and Hilton had football teams. Then, in early 1930s, Seaside Swifts emerged and finally gave way to the Seaside Rovers, who had their pitch behind Ballintor, now the site of Rovers Crescent. And many a lively game was played there, with all three villages represented. But more of that history is to come.
The early days in Ballintor, just after the First World War, we have a picture of a football team from 1921. There only seems to be friendly matches up until that point. After that, the Dewar Cup came into Captain Dewar from Lanarkshire, a big estate in Lanarkshire. He bought cups for every sports club around the area. And Dewar Cup between Hilton, Shanwick, Ballintor, Tane were involved and Fern were involved. And then in 1928, Ballintor decided to go into the Rosshill Junior League. There was consternation in the village because they thought all three teams, the Hilton people wouldn't go and watch it and the Shanwick people wouldn't go and watch it. So there was wasn't well liked the fact that they split up the teams. And then they didn't win much. They reached the final of the Summer Hall Cup, but they didn't really win much Ballintor. And then in 1932, there was a raucous meeting in the hall where it was decided that they would name a team Seaside Swifts, and it would be all three villages would come into it. So the Swifts started in 1932. It was quite funny in the newspapers at the time because it said Seaside Swifts and then in brackets Ballintor, Hilton and Shanwick, close brackets. So the Swifts took off. They won the league in 33, never lost a game. They won the league in 34 and they were winning the league again in 35. But something had to give, and it gave them the fact that when you're a successful lower team, then the big teams kind of start looking at you. So they started to lose players. John McCangus, the goalkeeper, went to play for Inverness Clackmacadam. And in 1937 he signed for Chelsea. John Tarrell went to play for Ross County. George McDonald was playing for Inverness Thistle. Jacka Skinner from Hilton was playing for Ross County. So was a fullback called Ross and a fullback called McCangus, both from Seaside Swifts. The Rossshire Journal printed a report that said that there's hardly a team line comes out of Dingwall anymore that doesn't have the words Trialist Seaside Swifts written on it. So something had to give, and it gave them the fact that although Seaside Swifts were well ahead in the league again, our guy in another club complained they were playing Highland League players, which was true. The league had a meeting, and the 3 points they'd gained from the two games that were complained about, they lost the 3 points, and to add insult, they deducted another 4 points. So the Swifts could no longer win the league. And going in the half, they said, right, we're not going to play anymore. So that was in January of 35. They appealed. And the appeal was thrown out and they lost their 7-6 that they put in for the appeal. So they never played at all during February. And Balfour and Ross went off to play for Aldous looking for a game of football. And then in early March they said they would fulfil their fixtures because they were still in the Patterson Cup. And at that point they were so far behind that play in the semi-final of the Patterson Cup, they went up to play against our guy, who was one of the teams that had complained against them. in the semi-final of the Patterson Cup and won that game 6-2. But on the same day in Ballantor, they were playing Cromarty in the Gilby Cup and lost that one 5-2. So two teams out on the same day. They reached the final of the Patterson Cup. It was one of their bugbears that they never won the Patterson Cup. They lost to Gloucester 3-1 and then they lost to Brora 5-4. That was the end of them. It was 3 years and then they were gone. They played odd games in Tane Carnival, playing against the RAF Tane and Gaineys Estate and the Tanewell Academy, but they never played in any leagues again. So I think that was the end of them.
Around 1948, a Hilton lad, W.A. Ross, now a lieutenant in the Royal Navy and an ardent footballer and staunch supporter of the Seaside Rovers, donated a football strip to the current team along with the first aid kit. These were much appreciated by the club and put to good use for many seasons.
You were saying on the way in, Alistair, when you signed for Ballantor, you were playing for Inver.
Yes, I was playing in the cup final at the time. And I was only 15, I think, at the time. And I had a good game, to be honest with you, because I'll tell you why. At the time, Hamilton St. Dennis earned, he Hamilton was presenting the cup. So he said, it's not right picking out one man in a team, he says. But he says, we do have to praise the Inver young goalkeeper, he said, for the game we had today. We got beat 3 or 4-1, I know. But that, ever since that, Ballantor wanted me to sign for that man. And then it was Maree. It was a joiner next door in Jimmy Mackenzie's. And we used to go, I was in Sawmill working. So he used to go, I used to go in there for water. So he used to keep after me for ever sign for Ballantor. I eventually did in the end. So I didn't regret it, I enjoyed it right enough.
Okay, and did you won quite a few caps? And
Yes, we won quite a few there. I have won 3 medals there and league there, but there's others I don't know, you know, and I still have them. One player I said to Alec McLennan was the manager, and I said to him, no, whatever you do, get my mid to Inver Dixon here. And he did, I says, because he is a good player. And Dixon was outstanding, yes. He always was a terrific player. And anybody in Ballantor will tell you that's some play. And then that was it was Dixon, yes. And then there's Walter Mackay from Inver came too. But Dixon was the star of them, very good. Even Cromarty was trying to get him to sign, but he wouldn't.
he wouldn't go.
Yeah. They were all good players there. Oh, the best, there's no doubt. Oh, they were a terrific team, they were all there. And every one of them, just outstanding. Well, I went from I was 17 until I was 18, I went into the army then. I was 2 years in the army. And then when I came out, I went back with them and played with them until they packed up then. And then I went with Tane. And it was quite good, yeah.
And how did you get to Ballantor? Who was you?
A taxi from, what's her name now? Mrs. She had a taxi in Ballantor. Herself and her husband had a taxi.
No.
Oh,
No, I can't think who that would be.
I can't mind her name.
Maybe Maree might go along.
The Taylor.
Taylor's
That's
taxis,
right.
okay. Yeah.
She would take us, come to Inver for us. Then we'd go round Tane and get Geordie MacDonald and Dolly
All right,
and pick
okay.
them up and take them to Ballantor.
Right, yeah.
So sometimes I'll be over the Millans.
All right, okay.
She had a dog there, and when she would say, call for the Rovers, and they'd go, boop, boop, boop. Yeah. Oh, yes, I'll never forget that.
Looking back, 2 particular cups come up which are part of the beautiful game here in the Seaboard. In 1953, the Mackay Cup was inaugurated in memory of Norman Mackay by his family. Norman was 14 when he was fatally injured falling from the cliffs at Nig Hill while collecting seagulls' eggs. The cap was a trophy to be played at under 15 level between schools in the Easter Ross area. Then there was the Hong Kong Cup. Here is a picture of Andrew Ross, better known as Biko, holding the cup. If anyone can tell us more about this cup, we would be most grateful.
Well, when I first became interested, I must have only been 5 or 6, and it's the Seaside Rovers. And I used to go down to Magill, I used to wash the strips, Pongo's mother. And I used to go down to help Pongo take the hamper out to the bus. And we would carry the hamper onto the bus, and that was our fare for the bus. We got on the bus for nothing. But one day we were sitting waiting for the bus to come, and sitting on the edge of the road, flicking sticks across the road. An old peeper came down the road in a spike. Pongo just flicked a stick in the front wheel, peeper right over the handlebars, you know, under the bank. So he wasn't hurt. In fact, I don't know if it was tar in the roads then, so maybe it didn't land in anything hard anyways, he didn't get hurt. So then we got onto the bus, and as I say, that was our freebie for taking the hamper onto the bus, and we would get on to travel with the team. We left one day and there was somebody short, and Ken McRae used to play for the team, and Ken worked in a farm out Kildare direction, and the bus went up on this track to Ken's farm and pleaded with him to come and play because we were short of a player, and he did come and play. Ken was the best I ever saw take penalties. I think he hit the ball so hard that he put the goalie in as well if it hit the goalie. My first game actually was Carnival Cup game, and Fern Thistle was the opponents, and they used to come and get changed in Dega's shed. That was my father's shed beside the pitch. And they turned up, and I would have only been 13 or 14 or something, and Fern turned up a man short, and they asked me would I play. So I says, right, I'll play for the Fern team against Ballochtown in the Carnival Cup. And I actually scored the winner that day. Hector McNair was the referee, and he was a very well-known character, and his refereeing was sort of a bit suspect sometimes, but he arrived for the game one night and he was late home from work, and he was rushing over to the pitch to ref the game, and somebody says, you weren't very good with the whistle tonight, Hector. And he says, I still had a slice of spam stuck to the roof of my mouth. He says, I could hardly blow the whistle. And in fact, when I scored the goal against Ballochtown in the Carnival Cup, he had asked me, was it a goal? Because he didn't know it was. At half-time, I mean, oranges then were quite rare, but the players used to get half an orange at half-time. It wasn't into a dressing room for tea or anything. It's just a half orange, and I'll go around with the half oranges and I'll get one for myself. So I was quite happy with that. Well, Shanwick, they didn't have much of a team, but they would make a select team up now and again, and they came to play against Ballochtown. It was quite a sort of hard-fought game, and then it was halfway through the second half when somebody realised Shanwick had 12 players in the park. So no wonder they did so well. It was quite good. Well, I persuaded a Ross County team to come down to play in the Carnival Cup. Not in the Carnival Cup, but at the Carnival time. And I played for Ross County against Ballochtown, and it was quite a good game, but I was getting a lot of stick from the locals for playing against the local team. So then the next day was Carnival Cup day against Fern again, or Teen. I don't remember who we were playing, but I was playing for the village team then. And what a reaction, or what a different reaction to what I was getting the night before. I was getting sworn at the night before, and oh, you're all right the next thing, you know.
Davy Erskine was born and brought up in Glasgow, and he was an unusual Glaswegian because he was a Partick Thistle supporter. He had connections to Ballintour. You've just got to hear his full name to realise that, David Vass Erskine. So he used to come up to visit relatives during his childhood, so he knew Ballintour well. Davy played football. He played for the Seaside Rovers, but he also told me a story when he stayed in the army after the war, and he became a physical fitness instructor. And Davy said he was super fit. He came up to Ballintour and leave, He said he would watch the footballers that played for the Rovers, the ones that worked in Tane in the building sites, cycle in the 8-9 miles to Tane every morning with their tools tied to the handlebars, work all day, cycle back at night, have their dinner, and then it was up to the football pitch to play. He says they used to run me off the park. He says they were super fit. You'd never seen such fit men. So as I say, Davy did play for Seaside Rovers. We have pictures of him in the team. He then became, when they built the new football pitch, he became the groundsman. At the start, the grass didn't grow very well. They had to speak to Aberdeen Agricultural College, and it was decided that it was so well, the water was running off it so well, the roots weren't given a chance. But it was sorted, and Davy looked after the pitch for quite a long time after that.
In the early 60s, the new Hilton of Cadwell Secondary School was built. A spacious playing field was supplied. The local team is now the Seaside United and formed in 1970. The female element of the villages, not willing to be left out, formed the Ladies Seaside United, just like their forebears of a quarter of a century before. Football seemed to run in the family in the villages. There were Vosses, Rosses, Allens, McCangus, MacDonald, Mackenzie, Morrison, and none more so than the Skinner family. And Jean Mackenzie will pay tribute to someone no longer with us, but without whose vision, drive, and enthusiasm the glory days just would not have happened.
When discussing the history of football in the Seaboard villages, one family plays a very big part in it. For several generations, the Skinner family have always been connected with football, whichever era you look at. Grandfathers, sons, grandsons, brothers, uncles, nephews and cousins, too numerous to mention, have all contributed to the teams from the villages themselves and indeed to those in the wider Rothschild area. It is my job to pay tribute to one of the Skinners in particular, and that is David Skinner, or as he was known to everyone, Pinner. Pinner was the second youngest of 6 boys. There were 6 sisters in the family as well. The boys all played football and at least twice won the Gala 5-a-side competition as a family unit. Back in the late 1970s, another football daft guy from Ballintor, Ian MacDonald, or McSpooch as he is better known, set up and managed a welfare team which played in a Sunday league. They were doing quite well in it, and Pinner played in the team at right back, and he was also the captain. They played on the bottom pitch in the middle of the village. But Pinner had higher ambitions for Ballintor and its football club, and he and McSpooch got together to discuss whether they could get a team organised to enter the North Caledonian League, or the Second 11 as I believe it was known then. They formed a committee and submitted their application, and Ballintor Football Club became members of the league in season 1980-81. McSpooch was the first manager and Pinner became the first chairman, as well as continuing to play and captain the team. It was a huge boost to Pinner and the team when the new top pitch, or Seaboard Park to give it its proper title, was opened in July 1981, with Ballintor taking on the Highland League side Ross County. Under Pinner's leadership, both on and off the pitch, the team went from strength to strength, and during this time they won several trophies, culminating in the back-to-back league wins of seasons 1989-90 and 1990-91. Pinner retired as a player but continued in his role as chairman. He had a charisma about him which meant he could talk people into doing things that others didn't think were possible. Notable amongst his different fundraising events were the sponsored dribble at Ben Nevis, exactly what it says on the tin, and the Burma Mile, a race involving everyone from the youngsters in the village to the team players and anyone else who wanted to join in. The route went along the beach, up the side of the hill to the Burma huts, then down round the 3 villages, finishing back at the football pitch, a lot more than a mile. He and Richard Hart and others set up and ran a very successful youth club for the boys and girls in the villages, with table tennis, pool and darts competitions, etc. And who can forget the pantomimes he wrote and directed for them to perform in a packed Seaboard Hall? I'm sure every one of those youngsters will always remember the fun they had and the encouragement they got at these events.
But I'd like to thank you all for coming on today. I hope you've been entertained. It's a lot of fun doing it. And taking into consideration all levels and exams and pretty well everything, the odds were against us doing this and doing it semi-reasonable. There's a few surprises I didn't know about. That's only one of them. But I had a smashing night. I didn't mind doing it. I hope you've had a good time watching it. I hate to think it's maybe the last play we ever do anything, but it has been real fun. I'll ask them all to come back on this now. It's not about me at all. Thanks to our cameraman here anyway, and the man behind the curtain, who's just been nameless, he's got a closer up. And basically that's it. And the two musicians, I'll just come on and take a bang and share as long as you like.
While he was chairman, the football club played their part in the village's gala week too. They always organised and ran the five-a-side football tournament and a few times put on an entertaining question of sport evening. It was he who made sure that Ballintor Football Club helped and supported all those who ran the school under-14 and under-16s team. Dusty Vass, George Monroe, Andy Barr and David Calderwood, providing them with strips and access to the football club facilities and getting sets of goals made for them. Pinner made sure that his Ballintor team made their mark in wider football circles too. It was because of him that local boys had the chance to play against the likes of Montrose, East Fife, Livingston, Dunfermline Athletic and Partick Thistle, all teams which he brought to play at Seaboard Park. The friendship with Jim Leishman of Dunfermline was long-lasting and led to the naming of the Blue Portakabin the Leishman Lounge, where inside the hospitality suite, another of Pinner's enterprising fundraising ideas became known as the McSpooch Suite. This was because Pinner always believed in recognising and thanking the people who helped him in all his undertakings. As a token of his gratitude and respect for groundsman Davy Erskine Sr., he invited Davy's beloved Partick Thistle up to play Ballintor in a match to celebrate Davy's 70th birthday. It was a fabulous day for the whole village to enjoy. Pinner himself was recognised several times by the football club for all he did and also for his huge contribution to the North Cally League itself. At an end-of-season dinner in 1998, he was presented with the Office Bearers Award for services to the game. Even after he retired as chairman, he continued to be involved in the North Cally League affairs. His company MSIS sponsored the league itself for several years, and it was such a proud moment for him when he handed the league trophy to his nephew John William Skinner when Ballintor won the North Cally League for the third time in their history in season 2005-2006. I cannot finish this tribute to Pinner without mentioning another of his talents, his sense of humour and his way with words, as was evidenced in his many legendary contributions to the Seaboard News under the barely disguised pseudonym of Renip. As well as alluding to the football team and their performances in these writings, he also highlighted the exploits of other notable characters and events of village life, all done in an extremely humorous and tongue-in-cheek manner. Many of the local worthies considered it an honour to be mentioned in these stories. Sadly, around the time of his retirement from running his MSIS business, Pinner began to suffer from ill health. He and his wife Annabel moved first to Inverness and then to Gollenfield to be closer to the family. In 2019, at the age of 68, he passed away suddenly. A great loss to the football fraternity in the north of Scotland, and much more so to the community here, to which he devoted so much of his time over so many years. He was truly a legend and an inspiration in the history of Ballintor Football Club and in the life of the Seaboard villages.
Seaside United ended and Ballintor Football Club came into being in 1981 with their own new pitch and pavilion up to the crest above the village, and my goodness did they proceed to give a good account of themselves throughout the Highlands. Perhaps this is a good time to reflect on some of the glory headlines. Over the years, there was a good number of committee members who wholeheartedly gave their time, but one member in particular stood beside Pinner through thick and thin over the years, and he was Ian MacDonald, better known as McSpooch. At times a manager, committee member, groundsman, and raffle seller extraordinaire. The football club needed not only a committee and players, it also needed volunteers who would line the pitch, put up the nets, and not forgetting the ladies who took turns in washing the strips each week, served the tea and pies in the Leishman Lounge to the supporters and opposition at half-time. They were part of the backbone of the club. Whilst mentioning supporters, Ballintor had some of the best. Characters who could split your sides with laughter. Their banter was second to none. Characters like Pongo, Alec McLennan, Andrew MacDonald, better known as Andrew Rangers, Willie Murray, Hector McNair, and that's just to name a few. Ballintor FC began to recruit players out with the villages. They were widening their net. Manager Willie MacDonald did a fair bit of poaching in his day, and as a result, players such as Alan Brindle, Colin Rioch and Lenny Fraser came to play for Ballintor FC, and this community more or less adopted these players.
Well, actually it was about 1993-94 season, and I got a shout from Lenny Fraser to say that Willie was asking him if he could give me a ring, and because I played with Lenny for years before that. So I just said, yeah, well, why not? So 94 was my first season, and I played on until 2000. And Willie MacDonald, of course, was very well respected goalkeeper, and was a very good goalkeeper at that.
I started playing for Muir in the North County League, early 80s. A few years after that, I remember a really good day for me. We were playing Ballintor through here. I think it was 4-1. We beat Ballintor. We got all 4 goals. They must have remembered me because the next season, when the Muir pulled out the league, they never entered the league. We got a phone call from Alan at phone. So you, Alan Randall, scored 4 goals. I said, he says, do you fancy signing for Ballintor? He says, we've got a friendly against Dunfermline in a couple of weeks. Do you fancy coming through for that? I said, I fancy that. So came through for that friendly, and I think we got beat 7-1, but I got the goal.
Yes, I'd previously been playing for Muir, and they pulled out of the league, and I'd gone a whole year without football, missing it very much. And Alan had been through a Ballintor the previous year, and he mentioned my name to Willie MacDonald, and Willie knew of me, to say that much. Maybe it was my tackling, but I don't remember this. But then I got a call from Willie to come through. Well, I knew from playing through in Ballintor for Muir, and I knew what it was like to play through here, how passionate they were about their football, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to come through and play with Alan, especially at that time, knowing fine he's a proven goal scorer. He played previously for Muir, so and I could take his word for it, just how nice everyone was through here.
Yes, certainly there's one that sticks out, but also there was apart from it, and this wasn't a cup final, but it was really important game against Fort William in Ballantor. And I noticed in the team sheets earlier that there was a few names that I recognised from the first team. When I saw them on the pitch, I more so recognised them. And anyway, we started off very poorly, and before we knew it, they were 3-0 up. And we were just abysmal, poor, it was just no oomph at all. So, but we did pull one back in the first half. It was 3-1, but it really wasn't deserved. So we went into the changing rooms, and Willie just tore us to shreds, you know, verbally assaulted us, and called us things that I haven't been called before. Anyway, amazingly, we came out in the second half and a different team altogether. We were winning 50-50 balls, and it's difficult to name names, but what I do remember is we got a second goal, and they were very peeved because they were so confident they were going to score more goals. And then we got an equaliser, and they were on the rocks then, and I mind Gordon Skinner whipping over a ball in the last minute into the box, and there was at least 4 defenders. Of course, they're all taller than me, but they were just waiting for the ball to drop, and I just ran in and picked my spot and put it away in the last minute. But it's not about me. It was the fight that the team had. It was amazing. That is the pinnacle. It doesn't matter what competition you play in life. That's as height that we're going to get. And that I would have the same feeling scoring that goal for Ballantor and for the supporters than any player, professional player, scoring an important goal. And I remember the loyal supporters were there just going daft, and we were all going daft. And what I'm coming to is, in all my 40 years playing football, I never ever seen a player from the same team attacking one of his own players, because they just totally fell out with each other big time, striking each other. And the manager running on the goalkeeper, and they were still arguing when we left the changing rooms, shouting the ball, and they still had to travel on a bus all the way back to Fort William. So that game somehow sticks out. It's not a good thing, but we overturned the game completely, and it was just amazing.
First memories were after school. We would make our way to the football park, and we'd be playing in there, and the likes of Graham Skinner, myself, Will Ross, guys like that would be playing there for ages. And then the guys would come home from their work, the older lads, Davy Pinner, Richard Hart. These guys would join in, and it was, you'd end up playing until it was dark, and it was absolutely fantastic. And we were all so fit back then, you know. Another memory was when I came back. It was the opening of the football pitch, and they played a game against Ross County to open a new pitch up at the top, and we beat them 2-1, and I managed to score the first goal that day. So it was good, and then I think we beat Elgin the following Tuesday. I think we had 2 games, or no, it was the Tuesday we beat Ross County, and then we beat Elgin on the Saturday. And they were 2 very, very good Highland League teams at the time. And we beat Ross County 2-1, and we beat Elgin 2-0. So that was great memories. And then when we won the league with the team here, that was a fantastic day. Winning the North Caledonian League. I think we beat Wick 5-1 at the Ballantor.
Go on to win the league, I think, in 89, 90, and then won it the next year as well, 1991. Personally, I had 2 great seasons. I think I was top goal scorer both seasons, 35 goals or something, both seasons. Plus the caps, I can't remember how many caps. We won quite a few caps. So, I mean, it was great, you know. Willie was, what a man Willie was. Everybody loved Willie. Alan too, you know. You just wanted to play for them, you know. You wanted to do well for them. It was just a great time. Best footballing time I've had.
The ripe old age of 38, I was made captain. I think it was a one-off for a cup final in Victoria Park. And we actually won that cup. Somebody would have to remind me who we played. But and going up to get that trophy and be presented with that, my granddaughter was there that day as well. I think it's a sort of collective thing. My favourite memory is obviously winning the league. One of my favourite memories is winning the league. And then win that second time. You couldn't really top that. So say it's a collective thing. The success I had with Ballantor, I've never had with any other club. It helped that I stuck around for a few years to pick up a few more trophies. I would say on top of that, my favourite memory is the people of Ballantor and the way you were made feel back.
The likes of the Skinners, the Rosses, the McDonalds, the Erskines, I'm trying to go through the names, and it was just a delight to play for Ballantor. And I've played for a number of teams in North Caledonia, but you have to be very thankful for where you've been brought up and played your football and the nice people that are here.
Yeah, I think there was so many great players back then, but the ones that maybe influenced me, there was Dusty Voss, Dusty was like almost a hero to everyone because he was playing Highland League as well, and a fantastic player. And then we had David Skinner. There was quite a few of the Skinners were very good, but Pinner, Richard Hart, senior, fantastic football player. And these guys, and my brother-in-law William, Chats Ross, he was a great player as well. It was great to be mixing with them, and now and again you would actually get the ball off them or something, and that was it. You go home happy, you know. I started to get into the team. There was a lad, John Jackson, who'd moved up from the Central Belt. John had played at Dundee United as a youngster. He came in to become a teacher at the school, and he started putting a bit of structure into the teams, and he was a very big influence on me, and he moved to Tane School then, and I'd moved to Tane School, and again he was involved in the football there. That's when school teachers got involved in football, which isn't much the case nowadays, which is a shame. But John was fantastic, and then you had characters like Hector McNair. Hector McNair would be at the game, and if you were playing great, it was my bairns, you know, and if you were playing not so good, it was shower bees. So Hector was a real character. And then you had Mick Spooch and all these guys, just fantastic helpers. Alec McLennan, guys who put their heart and soul into running the club, and a lot of the ladies there as well, Jeanette and Jean and all these people.
There was a few characters. Donnie Morrison was certainly a character. Charlie and Raymond Tommy was always up for a bit of banter and what have you. Yeah, two of them no longer with us. Fantastic characters, fantastic players, but there was such at the time, a bond with all the players and the committee. I think that's what helped it. That's the first time I've actually seen that committee where it's so much, involved. And after every game, we'd go back to the pub, and the committee would go back as well, and we'd all sit and, talk about the game and what was coming up the following week, and it was brilliant times.
Just amazing football memories.
Just simply the best.
Togetherness, pride, and exciting.
camaraderie, laughter, and success. It all goes together. You can't pick one over the other, to be quite honest. You know, as I say, it was the best years of my football life. Yeah, brilliant days.
One player has stuck out as having an extraordinary long playing career. John William Skinner. First game for Ballantor FC, he was only 16, going on 17. He is still playing competitive football today, albeit for Tain St Athas. John William is now 51 and he is still holding his own. But of course he has to come from the Skinner dynasty.
My first season with Ballantor was 1990-91 season. I was 16, almost 17 at the time. I'm starting to feel my age now, but I'm 51 at present, so still trying to play. Ballantor pulled out of the league briefly. I signed for Muir of Ord, so I went through to Muir of Ord with a lot of the connections there with Lenny and Alan, and then Ballantor went back into the league after we'd signed. So there was myself and my brother, and Tony Farker had already signed for Muir of Ord, so we missed the last season of Ballantor and continued with Muir of Ord at that point. I retired after Muir of Ord because Muir of Ord also folded. So I retired for a couple of seasons, and then my son started playing with Tain St Athas when they came into the league in 2016. So they asked me to play and I said no, and I didn't go to any of the pre-season, but then it came to the week of the first game and they phoned up again and said, we're short, will you help us out for 3 games? So like I say, that was 2016, and yes, since 2016 I've been playing football with Jamie and my son. Yeah, it's social. It's a competition for me. You know, it's something to you know, this competitive, want to win, it's quite a thrill. But also you meet so many people. You know, you round, especially the Highlands and even the islands when it comes to the summertime. But for the winter, you get to see so many people. I'm still friends with today that I've met over the years, which is good.
Over the years, there were a number of sponsors. Without their sponsorship of strips and match balls, sustainability would have been impossible. Therefore, recognition is given to the following sponsors for their support. There was the Commercial Inn Ballantor, Macrae's Travel, Invergordon Port Services, George Oliver, Network Refrigeration. The final whistle for some. The final whistle blew all too soon, and we remember them, whether they be committee members, players, volunteers or supporters. They all had a valuable contribution to the club. The preserving of past times, times considered most valuable, gives great pleasure today and in the future. This is so true.
Rover, pardon me, Rover, pardon me, and if you're no Rover, you're no use to me. Fairness of our drawn, take on no, but the cocky we Rovers, the pride of them all. We played for this cup as hard as could be. We made up our minds, coming down by the sea. We'll fill our wee whiskey and go on the spree and drink to the Rovers' great victory. A rover for me, a rover for me. If you're no a rover, you're no use to me. Fairness of our draw and take along, but the cocky wee Rovers, the pride of them all.